Hi everyone, my name is Jim Klein and I am the founder and developer of the ExcelCEO program for Microsoft Excel and Access Training, and I am really excited to be here today. I call the company ExcelCEO because I really believe that you can become the Chief Excel Officer of your company if you take this training program. Now I want to give you just a brief history of the company just to give you a frame of reference of where I'm coming from this training program. Years ago, I couldn't find the people with the right Excel skills that I needed to work in my group. And I wanted to write a book where I could just give to the people on the first day of the company, and I could say, welcome to the company, the kitchen's over here, the bathroom is over there, and here's your Excel book. I want you to go through this entire Excel book, work every example, do everything exactly as I lay out in the book, and once you finish that, then you'll have the Excel skills to work in my group. Now, I honestly thought it was going to take 2 or 3 months to write this book. It's really funny because I started on the book and I got so many things going and I had so many different tasks and different problems, and I was thinking, oh, this would be really cool if I could include this. And it eventually took me 3.5 years to create the course. I started selling the course online in 2007, and we have just been expanding since then. So unlike most training courses out there, I created this one all from scratch. I started giving this Excel Tips and Tricks webinar in 2014 to expose people to some of the things that I teach in my full course, and I have had so much fun putting it all together, and I hope you'll enjoy it too. Now in this webinar, I'm going to show you a whole bunch of Excel tips and tricks that will make your life in Excel so much easier. And I do want to tell you that I have a lot of material to present here, and I only have an hour and a half to go through it, so I'm going to be going through it really quickly. What we're going to do is we're going to open an Excel file, and I'm going to take you through a couple of projects. The Excel file is located at www.excelceo.com/sales2013.xlsx. So if you input that address into your browser, you can download the file directly from excelceo.com and you can work along with me. Now my goal today is to expose you to as many Excel tips and tricks as I can in the hour and a half that I have. I actually could spend the entire time just on VLookup, but we just don't have the time to do that. And that's one of the good things about doing this webinar is that we're recording it. And as it's recorded, you can go back over it time and time again if you want to review any of the concepts that I teach herein. You can also register for the complete course, which is worth 40 hours of CPE credit, continuing professional education credit. We're certified in the QAS program by NASBA. And you can read more about that if you go to our website at excelceo.com and click on the CPE tab. Now, after this webinar, if you decide to register for the full course, I'll show you how. Now, the normal price of the full 40-hour course is $299, but at the end of the webinar, I'm going to give you a promotion code. So you can use this code for yourselves and your team, but I'm going to talk about that at the very end. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. Now, typically when companies are interviewing people for their Excel skills, they ask 2 questions. The first one is, can you do a VLookup? And number 2, can you do pivot tables? And they should be asking a third question, and that is, can you do nested if logic? Now, we're going to be doing VLookup, and we're going to have a lot of fun doing it. Now, I honestly believe that we learn best when we're doing projects, and today we're going to be going through VLookup. So if you'll go ahead and open up that sales2013.xlsx, and the next project that we're going to be doing is calculating bonuses, and I think this is a really fun project. Now, in order to do this project, I've created a fictitious company. I've called this company Nighty Night Mattresses. Now, I have 5 children, and I have said Nighty Night a gazillion times in my entire life. And I always thought it would be fun to create a company called Nighty Night Mattresses, and because this is my course and my webinar, I created the company, and it's called Nighty Night Mattresses. Now, Nighty Night Mattresses owns 29 stores up and down the East Coast of the United States. In their retail stores, they sell mattresses and pillows and sheets and other type of stuff. And your job in this next project is to calculate a bonus. Now, I'm going to click over here on the Assumptions tab and basically explain how the bonus works. In order for a store manager to make a bonus, they look at this schedule right over here. And if you look at this schedule, it says basically that in order to receive a bonus, you have to make 100% of your budget. If you make 100% of your budget, you get 0.5% in the form of a bonus. And this is 0.5% of all of the revenue, all of the sales that you had at that store. If you get 110% of your budget, you get a full percentage point in the form of a bonus going all the way back to $1. And if you get 120% of your budget, you get 1.5% in a bonus. Again, going all the way back to $1. So it is definitely worth the store manager's time and effort to make sure that he makes at least 120%, because that's where he gets the biggest bonus. All right, now this is an actual project that I created several years ago in my regular job. And out of all of the projects that I've ever done, I think this is the one that has given me the most kudos. This is the one that I have got most feathers in my cap for, because it really helped out the company. In fact, it saved the company about $700,000 a month after I did this project. So this was a project that's been near and dear to my heart. So let me go through each one of the tabs. This first tab over here is basically the bonus structure, saying you meet 100%, like I explained before. You make 100% of your budget, you get half of a percent of all your revenue in a bonus, and so forth. This next tab over here, let's click on the sales tab, and this is basically all of the revenue that the store has made. Each store has a store number. The month over here is self-explanatory. The year is all 2013. But each store has a store number. And the next columns are the revenues, the mattress revenue, the pillow revenue, and all the other revenue. And what you need to do is compare the total revenue to the budget and figure out what percent of the revenue the budget is. So you would just divide the total revenue by the budget, and then look up the bonus over here in the Assumptions tab to see what percentage that they make, and then calculate the bonus. So that is your job that you're going to do right now. So let's go ahead and start these calculations. Alright, so the first thing that we need to do here is to calculate our total revenue. So I'm going to type up here in cell G1 total rev, enter. And this should be a formula that everybody should know how to do already. It's a sum function. We're going to type equals sum, open parentheses, and we're going to tag mattress revenue, pillow revenue, and other revenue, close our parentheses, and enter. And we've got $145,947, right? Now we're going to use our data fill functionality right there. Double click the data fill functionality to copy that down, and it looks like everything's copying down just fine. Now at this point, I want to draw your attention over here to this area of the screen. This area of your screen is called the status bar. And as you can see, we've got different calculations, different statistics that are in this status bar. We've got an average, a count, and a sum. And the reason that I wanted to show you that area of the status bar is because if in any of these formulas that we just did, if there is an error, then you will not see the average and the sum. You will see the count, but you can't see the average and the sum, obviously, because if there's an error, the error is going to show up and you're not going to be able to calculate. And we are going to see several errors here in this project today. The status bar area is very, very useful. In fact, let's just suppose that you wanted to sum up these first 5 numbers right over there. So I'm just going to highlight those 5 numbers there. If you look over there on the status bar, you can see that it's summing up just those numbers. So you don't have to write a sum function to be able to calculate anything on your spreadsheet. This is just a quick and dirty way to look at the summation or the average of any number that you want to on your spreadsheet. That's just a brief introduction to the status bar area, and we are going to be looking at that status bar area here several times during this project. Okay, now that we've got the total revenue calculated, we need to bring in our budget number. So I'm going to type budget right over there. All right, so how are we going to look up our budget number? Well, if you look at our schedule over here, we need to find the budget by store number. In fact, let me go ahead and click over here on the budget tab. The budget tab is a very simple schedule. It just has the store number and the budget. And this schedule here is all of the store numbers, and they're sorted in numeric order. So let's go back over here to our sales tab, and let's look up some of these budgets. Now, the first one is store number 1063. So let's go over here in the budget tab, and let's scroll down to store number 1063. We see that it's $119,000. So we're going to come back over here to our sales tab. And under budget, we're going to type 119000 and enter. We get $119,000 there, and we're fine. We're going to do that 347 more times. You ready for that? Nah, I'm kidding. We're not going to do that. In fact, that's a good point. Whenever you're doing something in Excel and you're thinking it's taking a long time, or you're doing the same step over and over and over again, and you're thinking to yourself, there has got to be a better way to do this. There usually is. And in this case, yes, there is. We're going to be doing the famous VLookup. The VLookup function is probably one of the hardest functions to wrap your brain around. But once you get it, it can open up worlds of things that you can do. So let's go ahead and write a VLookup function over here. Okay, so instead of the 119, just hard coding that in there, I'm going to type equals VLookup open parentheses. And we look at our screen tip over here, and we see the first argument is lookup value. Well, the lookup value is going to be the store number. So I'm going to click on cell C2, type a comma. The next argument is the table or array. That means the database. A VLookup is kind of like a phone book. Now, for those of you who are a little bit younger in the audience, a phone book is something that, other than sitting on when I was a little kid, we used to look up phone numbers. You would look up the last name and the first name of the person that you're trying to find the phone number for, and you'll see their address. Then you can go all the way over to the right, and it would give you their 7-digit phone number. That's when we didn't use area codes. But a VLookup works just like looking up numbers in a phone book, because that's what it does. The V in VLookup stands for vertical, so the information has to be in a vertical format, which it is. So now all we have to do is to go over to the phone book. Now the phone book is going to be the budget tab. So I'm going to click on the budget tab and scroll back up over to the top. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight the entire database that we're going to be looking up. Now it's very important that the store number appears in the left column. You see over here in our formula, C2 is the store number, so that's got to be the leftmost column. So I'm going to start with the leftmost column and click and drag all the way down to highlight all of the stores and their budgets in this database here. Now, if I were to leave my formula just like this, it would work for the first couple or three, but then I would start to get a few errors. And the reason for that is if you look over here at this range, A2 to B29, the cool thing about Excel is that if you copy this formula, just like it is right now, down one cell, that range would change because Excel changes the ranges in the cell in the direction of the copy command. So if it copies down, it's going to change that range from A2 to A3 and B30, A4 to B31, and so forth as you copy it. But in this case, we don't want that. We want that range, A2 to B29, to stay static. It's called an absolute reference. And the way to do the absolute reference is to put dollar signs in front of the column reference and the row reference, in front of the A, the 2, the B, and the 29. And one quick way to do this is to click F4 on your keyboard. So I just clicked F4 on the keyboard, and you see that it puts the dollar signs around the A, the 2, the B, and the 29. So at this point, when we copy it down, that range is going to stay fixed. There's another way to do this. You can do a named range, but that's outside of the scope of this webinar. Let's type a comma and go into our next argument there, the column or index number. In this database, which is the number that we want to return, or where is the number that we want to return? Is it in the first column, the second column, the third column? In this particular example that we're doing, it's in the second column. So I'm going to put 2 and then type a comma. Now, this last argument here is probably the most difficult one to wrap your brain around. And basically, this is a range lookup value. In this value, you can have one of three different values. Number one, you can leave it blank, or you can type true. If you do that, it's going to give you an approximate match. If you type the word false, it's going to give you an exact match. And I can tell you right now that 99.9% of the time when you're using a VLookup function, you should be typing false because you want to find an exact match. In fact, if it doesn't find an exact match, you want to see the error. If you look at store number 1234 and store number 1234 doesn't exist, it's going to give you 1232 or 1233 or the closest one to 1234. We don't want that approximate match. We want an exact match, and if it's not an exact match, we want an error. So I'm going to type false in here, close parentheses, and enter. And we see that we get the same number that we looked up before, which is $119,000. Now, this $119,000 is not quite in the right format yet, so I'm going to show you another trick over here that we can use. I'm going to click on the total revenue cell over there, 145. That has the right format. We want that comma separator in between the $1,000 figures. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to use this Format Painter icon over here. The Format Painter icon is basically an icon where you click on a source cell, click on the Format Painter, and it copies the formatting of that cell, not the contents of the cell, but the formatting of the cell. It'll copy that, and then you click on the destination cell. So I'm going to click over here on my Format Painter icon. If you see, I put my cursor over to cell H2. You see that little paintbrush there, and I'm going to click on that, move the cursor out of the way, and you can see that it is now $119,000. So it looks like our VLookup function is working just fine. I'm going to use the data fill button over there, and I think everything is just fine. We can go on to the, well, hold on a second. Let's not go on to our next one, because look down over here in the status bar. Remember over here we used to have the average and the count and the sum? Right now we only have a count. Why is that? It's because we've got an error in there somewhere. So we've got to scroll down a little bit. Okay, there's one error, there's the second error. Now what could possibly be wrong with this one? Well, let's look over here. The function looks like it's working right, but it's trying to look up store number 1021. And this error message down here is also trying to look up store number 1021. So apparently we've got a problem with store number 1021. Let's click over here on the budget tab. And since all these are in alphabetical order, let's look for store number 1021. Well, it should be right in here somewhere, but we see that it ain't there. You see, I'm from Texas, and I can say the word ain't. It's, on the back of my driver's license. It is legally permissible for you to say ain't in Excel presentations. So we look at there, and we see that store number 1021 ain't there. So at this point, we get on the phone with our manager, and manager's name is Carol. Call her up and say, hey, Carol, we got a problem. I'm trying to look up the budget for store number 1021, and it's not there. Why is it not there? And she says, oh, I'm sorry, Jim. I forgot to tell you about that. See, store number 1021 is a brand new store, and we don't have a budget for it yet. The manager of store number 1021 is not going to get a bonus anyway, so if you see anything for store number 1021, just make the budget be 0. Can you do that? And you say, absolutely, I am an Excel master. I can do this. Then you go back to your desk and say, all right, now what function am I going to use? So let's go over here, and I'm going to go all the way back to the top here. We're going to use another function over here. This function is called the if error. So basically what this says is, if the cell is, well, let me go ahead and write it. I'm going to type if ERROR open parentheses. And basically what this function is saying is, if the VLookup returns a value, then return that value. Otherwise, give me the value that you want if it's an error. So I'm going to type if error, open parentheses. The VLookup is the value if true. Then I'm going to go over here to the end, type a comma. And the value, if it's an error, I'm going to just type a 0, close parentheses, and enter. And when I do that, let's copy that puppy all the way down. And we see now we've got an average, count, and sum. Let's go down just to make absolutely sure. Store number 1021 is returning 0 budget. 1021, 0 budget. That's fine. That's another point that I really want to make sure that you understand. When you're doing a spreadsheet like this, or any type of spreadsheet, check your numbers. Check and double check your numbers. Even though you think that the formula should be working okay, just go ahead and do an idiot check to go down just to make absolutely sure that you've got the numbers, because there's nothing more embarrassing than you being the Excel expert and you take the spreadsheet into your boss or your client and it's got errors in it. Okay, so check and recheck and triple check your numbers right before you send it to your boss or client, because it is so embarrassing delivering a spreadsheet and it's full of errors. All right, so the next thing that we want to do over here is we need to calculate the percent of the budget. So I'm going to say budget percent is this column over here. This one is a real easy one, because all we need to do is divide the total revenue by the budget. So I'm going to say equals G2 divided by H2. That should be a real easy one, right? Okay, we see that it returns 1.226443. I'm going to format that as a number. I really like using this number grouping up here, so I'm going to click the percent sign over there, take the decimal places to 1, and usually when I'm formatting something as a percent, I like to format it as a percent with 1 decimal place. I do that, and I double click that all the way down. It looks like everything is working fine, but then I go down here to my status bar and I see I've got another error. What is that? So let's start scrolling down again. Okay. Wouldn't you know it, it's our store number 1021, our problem child over here. It looks like we've got another type of error message. This is a divide by 0 error message. Basically what this is saying is that it is mathematically impossible to divide any number by 0. You can't do it. So you got to solve for it. Let's go ahead. On this one, let's write a simple if statement. I'm going to say if the number on the bottom, or if the budget number is 0, then return a 0, else do the calculation. And we can just edit our formula right here very easily for that. I'm going to say if, open parentheses, H2 is equal to 0, comma, give me a 0. Else, do the calculation, G2 divided by H2, close parentheses, and enter. Let's click that all the way down and see if it works. We got an average, we got a sum. Just to make sure, let's look at our store number 1021 problem child. We're good there. We can go on to the next one. Now, this one is the fun part. We get to actually calculate the percentage. Remember over here, we need to find out this 122%. We need to find out what kind of a bonus in this schedule it gets. Now, this one, they should be getting 1.5% because 122% is more than 120% of their budget, right? So let's come up here. I'm going to title this column bonus percent. We're not going to use a VLookup in this. I'm going to show you another function that a lot of people don't use. It's called just a simple lookup. Equals lookup, open parentheses. We're going to look up this value, the value in cell I2, give me a comma, and we're going to look it up in a lookup vector or array. The vector or array is over here on the Assumptions tab, and I'm going to highlight just the percent of bonus and the bonus percent right there. And we need to absolute value that, close parentheses, and enter. In fact, that was not an absolute value, it's an absolute reference. There's a difference between absolute value and absolute reference. Let's go ahead and format this as a percent with 1 decimal place. We're going to double click that puppy all the way down. We've got average, sums, counts. Let's make sure that this is calculating as 0. So basically, in this, we should only have one of 4 values. We should either have 0.0%, 0.5%, 1.0%, or 1.5%. And a real quick and simple way to do this is to use a data filter. So I'm going to click on my data tab over here. So if I click on my filter icon over there, and then I come over to my bonus percent column and click on my drop-down menu, it shows me all of the values that are in here. And in fact, it's only giving me 4 values, 0.0, 0.5, 1.0, 1.5. We'll cancel all of that and turn off our filter. We're ready for the really fun part now. We are going to calculate the bonus dollars. The reason I like to use this one is because you get to see how much money people are making. That's a lot of fun to do. All right. So now, this one is just a real simple calculation. We're just going to take the bonus percentage multiplied by the total revenue, right? No sexy formula or anything that we have to do in there. It's not formatted quite right, so we're going to use our handy-dandy Format Painter icon to format our bonus numbers over there. I'm going to double-click that all the way down. We see that we have $321,694. Let's go back over here to the Assumptions tab, and I want to make this a little bit prettier over here. I'm going to say total bonus, and then come over here, and I'm going to actually sum up, so it's going to be equals sum, open parentheses. I'm going to sum up everything in column K in my sales tab, because there's nothing below column K, so I don't have to worry about anything being below that or it capturing anything summing there. So I'm going to close my parentheses and enter. I see that I've got 321,000. Let's go ahead and format that baby right there. And 321,694. I want to make it look pretty. That's another thing I can say because I'm from Texas. I can say pretty. Have it bold, and we're done. Look at that. We have now calculated the entire bonus. $321,694. We are really proud of our project now. So now we take this spreadsheet and we walk very proudly into Carol's office and say, Carol, I have completed this project. I have calculated the bonus for every store, every month for the entire year 2013, and it comes out to $321,694. And she says, Jim, this looks fantastic. Do you think you can... Has that ever happened to you? Has that ever happened when you create the greatest spreadsheet on the face of this great earth, and you take it to somebody, and they look at it and say, hey, this looks really cool. Do you think you can... And then they go in and start to fill in their own words with what they want you to do extra. Actually, you should be complimented. This is a compliment to you because this is something, the person that you delivered this project to, they've never seen the data in this format yet. And now that they're looking at it, Carol comes back and says, you know, here at 99 Mattresses, we've got 3 types of stores. We've got small stores, medium-sized stores, and big stores. Now, our big stores are our cash cows, and we really like the Olympics theme, so we're calling these stores bronze, silver, and gold. And this schedule right over here tells what the bronze, silver, and gold stores are. Basically, a bronze store is a store that has a budget of less than $80,000. A silver store is a store that has a budget of between $80,000 and $120,000. And a gold store, those are the cash cows, the big stores, big markets, whatever. Those are the ones that we really depend on. They're the ones that make most of the bonus. And gold stores have a budget of $120,000 or more. Do you think you can break out that $321,000, $321,694, break it out into bronze, silver, and gold just to see what allocation of the bonus is that in our different types of stores? Can you do that? And you say, absolutely, I am an ExcelCEO master, I can do this. And you go back to your desk and you think, how in the blazes am I going to get this done? Well, let's go over here and look at the sales tab here. In the sales tab, we've got, remember, we did the VLookup, so we know the budget for every store. So really, all we have to do is write some logic over here to tell what type of store is each one of these budgets, and then we can do another function to bring it all together. So over here in cell L1, I'm going to type the word type for store type. And over here, I'm going to write an if statement. Now, this if statement is going to be a little bit complicated to write. I'm going to go ahead and write it. I'm going to talk you through it, and then we'll talk about it a little bit when I get finished, okay? This is an example of a nested if statement. So I'm going to type equals if, open parentheses, the budget, which is in cell H2, is less than, then we go over to our Assumptions tab and click on the first $80,000, and that needs to be an absolute reference there. If it's less than $80,000, type a comma, we want to return the word bronze. But instead of typing the word bronze, I'm going to click on cell A8, absolute reference that, because we want to return whatever is in cell A8. Next argument, if, open parentheses, now pay attention to this, if H2 is greater than or equal to $120,000, which is in cell B10, absolute reference that, then we want to return the word gold. Absolute reference that. For everything else, we want to return the word silver. Absolute reference that. Close with two ending parentheses and enter. Now let's look at this formula. What it says is anything that's less than $80,000, give me bronze. Everything that's over or equal to $120,000, return the word gold. For everything else, that means everything else is between $80,000 and $120,000. For everything else, return the word silver. Excel doesn't do a between statement very well. So you can't say if it's between this and this. So you've got to rethink your logic. In fact, when you're writing an if statement, especially if you're writing a nested if statement, sometimes it's a lot easier to say if something is not this, then return this value, instead of always saying if something is this. But if you use the negation at first, sometimes that makes your logic a little bit easier. All right, so we're going to now double-click this all the way down. We scroll up and down. Doesn't look like we have any errors in there. We should see only bronze, silver, and gold. I'm going to click on our filter icon, and just to make sure that those are the only three values that I see, bronze, gold, and silver. Okay, we'll cancel out of that. That's fine. Now we can come back over here to our Assumptions tab and split out the bonus. So over here, I'm going to type bonus dollars and enter. The formula or the function that we're going to use here is called a SUMIF. So I'm going to type equals SUMIF, open parentheses. So basically what this SUMIF is summing up the numbers based on a criteria. So the first argument over here is the range. So the range for this is over here on the Sales tab in column L. That is our range. We want to make sure that we identify each store as bronze, silver, and gold, comma. The criteria is our next argument. The criteria is over here on the Assumptions tab again, and I'm just going to click on the word bronze because we're using that word. Well, I'm not going to type the word bronze. That's hard coding it. And if there's one thing I can teach you in this webinar today is don't hard code stuff. Always use an Assumptions tab or a page to input all of your assumptions. Our criteria is bronze, so let's type a comma to go to the last one. the sum range, what do we want to sum up? We want to sum up the total bonus, right? And that's over here on the Sales tab. Click on the Sales tab, click on column K, since that was the one that contains our bonuses. Close parentheses and enter. Ooh, that's ugly. All right, so let's go ahead and make it a little bit prettier. I'm going to format that. I'm going to copy that all the way down. With those three cells selected right there, we come back down. We look at our sum, 321,694. 321,694. We are done. But then right before you give it to Carol, you're looking at this and say, wait a minute. Carol told me that the gold stores are the ones that are the cash cows. Those are the ones that earn most of the bonus. What is going on with that? So you save the file and you take it over to Carol and say, hey, Carol, we got a problem over here. You told me that the gold stores were the ones that earn all the bonuses. We got a problem now. What is this? And she says, I don't know. So that's when you take off your developer hat and you put on your analyst hat and you start calling up some stores. Maybe the budgets are wrong. That's when you have to start diving into and slicing and dicing the data. Now, there's one last thing that I want to show you in this portion of the webinar, and this is one of my heart medication functionality. I'm going to show you something now that is so extremely cool that if you have some problems that you get really excited about this kind of stuff and you got some heart problems, I encourage you to take your nitroglycerin right now. This really cool thing is called a spinner button. Now, spinner buttons is something that you've used before. You've used them on the internet. You've used them in different programs. In fact, if you've ever used the Format Cells dialog box, you've used a spinner button. And I'm going to show you how to use a spinner button. Now, a spinner button, all it is an up and down arrow. You click on the up arrow one time and it changes to 1, 2, 3, 4, and you click on the down arrows and it goes 3, 2, 1. All right, that's all a spinner button is. So let me give you a little bit of a background over here about 99 mattresses and our bonus structure. Now, over here in cell B3, we see that the point at which the store managers start to earn a bonus is 100%, and that is called the entry point. In fact, I'm going to come over here, I'm going to type entry point. So, a store manager has to meet 100% of his budget to start earning a bonus. Now, there are some people at 99 mattresses, they say, maybe we should make it a little bit more lenient. Maybe we should say, you start earning a bonus at 95%, or maybe even 90%. Because if you start to earn a bonus at 90%, it's going to be easier to make your bonus, you'll make more money, and you'll be more motivated to sell more. And then the other side of the table say, what are you talking about? 100% is the absolute minimum just to keep your job. To earn a bonus, you need to be up at 130% or 120% or something like that. And then there's the people in the middle of the aisle. They say, the industry standard is 100%. The other stores, they're doing 100%. Let's just go ahead and leave it at 100%. So Carol comes to you and tells you about this argument that the board of directors are having. And she says, is there a way in this thing that you can do a sensitivity analysis, just to see what would be the different payouts on the bonuses at the different levels of the entry point? And you say, absolutely, that is bone stupid simple to do. Now over here, the 100% over here is just a hard-coded number. But this 110%, what this level does to go to the next level of bonus, all it does is say, give me whatever's in cell B3 and add 10% onto it. You see, that's over here in our formula bar right there. Over here in the fourth level, 120%, all that's doing is taking 110% and adding 10% to that. And 99 mattresses said, we want to keep that structure just exactly the way it is, but we want to have the ability to change around our entry point to see how that would react. So we want to keep that 10%. So if we change our entry point to 90%, then the next level would be 100%, the next level would be 110%. All right? And a really cool way to do that is by using a spinner button. Now, a spinner button is the functionality that you're going to find over here on the Developer tab. Let me show you how to show or display the Developer tab. On your version of Excel, you probably don't have the Developer tab, so I want you to pay attention here. I'm going to show you how you can make that appear. If you click over here on the File tab, you can use the File tab in 2010 or 2013. And if you're looking at this in 2007, you would use the Office button. Then you come down here to the Options choice there, and you see that the Excel Options dialog box appears. What I want you to do at this point is click on the Customize Ribbon option over here, and then all the way over to the right, you'll see the Customize Ribbon section, and you can see all of the different tabs that appear in your spreadsheet. You will probably see that the Developer tab is not checked. So all you have to do is check the Developer tab, click OK, and then you'll see the Developer tab up here. Now let me go ahead and click on the Developer tab here. And you can see all of these really scary icons over here, the add-ins and COM add-ins and properties, expansion packs. The only one that I want you to worry about right now is over here under Controls, the Insert icon. So I'm going to click on the Insert icon, and you see the Insert icon is divided up into a couple of different sections. You've got Form Controls and ActiveX Controls. In the Form Controls, this button right over here, I'm going to hold my cursor over that, and you can see that the screen tip says Spin Button. So I'm going to click on the Spin Button, come back over here and draw a rectangle next to the entry point. Let's go ahead and resize that and make it a little bit prettier. And all we've got is an up and down arrow. I click outside of that. Now, when you first create that object there, you see those square handles that are on the corners and the sides. That basically tells you that that object, and this is an object, that it is selected. If you click outside of that, it goes away and it's ready to use. Now, I can click on the up arrow, I can click on the down arrow, and it doesn't do anything because we haven't told it what to do yet. So let's go ahead and go into the Format control. I'm going to hover my cursor over that, right-click, and then click on Format Control. The Format Control dialog box opens up, and you need to be on the Control tab. The current value, we're going to play around with these numbers over here. Instead of 1, I'm going to say 100. The minimum value, we're going to leave that as 0. Because we don't want it to go below 0. You're not going to have negative entry points over here. The maximum value, I'm just going to type 200 over there because we don't want it to go past 200. The incremental change means every time you click on the up or down arrow, how much does it move by? And it would be 1, which is fine. The link cell, I'm going to click inside the link cell, and then I'm going to click in this cell, E3, right behind the spinner button, and then click OK. Click outside of it. And you can see, in fact, I'm going to move that out of the way a little bit so you can see that it says 100 there. I click one time on the up arrow on the spin button and it moves to 101. Click on it a few more times, goes up to 105. It goes down. I can take it down 95. I can take it all the way down to 0. Let's go ahead and take it back up to 100. And now, instead of saying 100% over here, I want to say equals, give me whatever's in cell E3 divided by 100 to turn it into a decimal. And it looks like everything is fine, but now watch this. Every time I click on the up arrow or the down arrow, you're going to see all of these numbers move. Now, if I click on the up arrow here, I take it up to 101%. Do you think your total bonus is going to go up or down? Think about that for a while. If you click on the up arrow, it's going to go up to 101, which is harder to reach than 100, so your total bonus should go down. Let's see if that works. Click on that spin button, and look how cool everything changes. With each click of the button, you can see the total bonus, the bonus with our sum if formulas right over there. Every time you click on it, it changes. In fact, you can click on it really quick, take it down to 95. It went from 321 to 341 at 95%. Obviously, it's easier to make. You're going to be paying out more in bonus, and hopefully you're going to be getting more in revenue there. All right, let's take it down to 90%. Now, I'll tell you what, this functionality is so cool. I created it for one of the officers in my company, and a couple of days later, he came back to me and he says, Jim, I'm using those spinner buttons so much they're starting to fade. Just like the people who type a lot on their keyboard or type on their phone. Let's go ahead and take this back up to 100% over there. All right, so let's go ahead and let's open it up for some questions from the audience. I'm seeing over here that somebody's asking, can you show us again how to display the Developer tab? Yes, I can do that. In fact, let me show you a couple other things over there. To display the Developer tab, you click on the File button, you go down to the Options choice there, and the Excel Options dialog box appears. Now, there's a lot of stuff that you can do with Excel Options. You can change the name. Look at this first one, General. The username is Jim Klein. Well, if I wanted to change it to Joe Smith, I can do that. All I have to do is type Joe Smith and click OK. Now my computer's name is Joe Smith. Let's open up the Excel Options dialog box again. If you click over here on the Advanced, this is the one that I show people a lot. Lots of times when you're using Excel and you type a number and you hit Enter, the cursor goes down to the next cell because a lot of people enter information. I enter very little information. I manipulate information. I bring it in from database and I manipulate that. And when I press enter, I don't want it to do anything. I want it to stay on that cell right there. But if you want to enter data, all you have to do is click this button over there. After pressing enter, move selection down. Click that. Now, if I just hit the enter key, I'm just hitting the enter key, and every time I hit enter key, it moves down. In fact, I don't like that, so that really bugs me, so I'm going to turn that off. Go over here, click on Advanced, turn that off, and click OK. So there's a bunch of stuff that you can do with the Excel option. So I encourage you, if you have a few minutes, to explore some of the options that you can do with the Excel options dialog box. All right, what's another question? Another question over here is, if I sign up for your complete course, how does it work? All right, let me talk a little bit about that. The complete course, again, is worth 40 hours of CPE credit. It starts you off at a beginning level. This is Excel 101. This is a cell, this is a column, this is a row. Now, for you people out there who are very advanced, I will tell you that I've put a lot of tips and tricks into chapters 1, 2, and 3. And if you go through the course, there's a lot of people say, Jim, I've got 25 years of experience in Excel. Do I have to start at chapter 1? And I'm going to say yes, and I'm not trying to insult your intelligence. I've got a lot of tips and tricks that even the advanced people, the people who have been working with Excel for 20 plus years, they come to me and say, Jim, I cannot believe it. I went through chapter 1 and I learned so much there. I never knew what I didn't know. So, especially for you advanced people, please go through, work every example, do everything, read every word, complete every task that I ask you to do. And that's all the time we have for questions. We're kind of running behind schedule now. So, last thing I want to show you here is how to hide the contents of a cell. You see this 100? It really doesn't do anything. Let's go ahead and take it up to 105. We've got 105 over there. We've got it here and we've got it there. So we really don't need to see that cell right there. All right. So I'm going to right click on it. Go down to the Format Cells dialog box opens up. I want to hide the contents of this cell. And to do that, you click on the Custom tab over there under Category. I'm going to take out General and replace it with 3 semicolons. And if you do that and click OK, look what happens. That goes away. You can still see it up here, and you can see it down there. But you don't really need to see it over there in cell E3. It has been a pleasure to give this webinar to you today. I have had a lot of fun. Hope you have had a lot of fun in doing this, and I hope to see you very soon as an ExcelCEO student. Thank you so much.